You're watching Court in 4K.
Somebody in the Kawhi Leonard scandal is doing 14 years in federal prison, and it isn't Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi has not been charged with the crime. He is not a defendant in the criminal case. He is not a defendant in the investor's lawsuit. He is not a debtor in the bankruptcy. And in the one place his name does show up on a court filing, he is on the list of people the company still owes money to. So how does a two-time finals MVP end up at the center of a scandal where nobody is suing him? There are three completely separate proceedings here, and people keep blending them into one giant mess. Take them one at a time and the picture changes. Start with the company. Aspiration sold itself as an eco-friendly bank. You keep your money there, and instead of the bank quietly lending it out to oil companies, it plants trees and rounds your coffee purchase up into a climate donation. Feel good about your debit card. That was the pitch. In September of 2021, Clippers owner Steve Ballmer put $50 million of his own money into Aspiration through his personal company. He put in another $10 million in March of 2023. About a month after that first investment, the Clippers announced Aspiration as a team sponsor in a deal reported at $300 million. Roughly 3 months before that, Kawhi Leonard had agreed to a 4-year extension with the Clippers worth $173 million. And then Aspiration signed Kawhi Leonard to an endorsement deal reported at $28 million over 4 years. That deal ran through an entity called KL2 Aspire, a company that lists Leonard as its manager. He was also reported to have received $20 million in company stock. Line those up in order. Owner invests in a company. Company becomes the team's sponsor. Company hands the team's best player $28 million. You do not need a law degree to see why somebody eventually asked the question. In September of 2025, the podcast Pablo Torre Finds Out reported the allegation that lit the fuse. Based on internal company documents and former Aspiration employees, the reporting alleged the endorsement was effectively a no-show job. A no-show job means exactly what it sounds like. You are on the payroll and you never show up. In this case, the allegation is that Leonard collected the money without doing any actual endorsing. No appearances, no commercials, no social posts, nothing you could point to and say, there, that is the $28 million at work. And that is where this stops being gossip and starts being a rules problem. Every NBA team has a salary cap, a hard limit on what it can pay its players. The cap is the whole reason the league has any competitive balance at all. Cap circumvention means paying a player through a side door so the money never counts against that limit. If a sponsor pays a star $28 million for genuine work, that is business. If a sponsor pays a star $28 million for nothing while the team's owner is quietly funding that sponsor, then the league is going to ask whether that was ever endorsement money at all, or whether it was salary wearing a costume. Now the other side, because they have one and they have stated it clearly. Leonard was asked about it directly on September 29th of 2025. His answer, in his own words, quote, "I don't think it's accurate." He added, quote, "I understand the full contract and the services that I had to do." And then, quote, "The NBA is going to do their job. None of us did no wrongdoing." The Clippers' position is just as blunt. Their statement, quote, "We did not funnel money to Kawhi Leonard through Aspiration." They have called the accusations of salary cap evasion absurd, and they say they were the victims here, defrauded by the company's co-founder. Ballmer has said he did not know the details of Leonard's Aspiration contract. We are not picking sides. Both of those things can be sitting on the table at once. A sequence of events that looks bad from the outside and a set of denials that no one has disproven. So let's separate the three proceedings, because this is where the confusion lives. Proceeding number 1 is criminal, and it belongs entirely to somebody else. Joseph Sanberg, the co-founder of Aspiration, was prosecuted in federal court in California in front of Judge Stephen Wilson. He pleaded guilty to wire fraud, which is a fancy label for a simple thing: using phones, emails, or wire transfers to carry out a scheme to cheat people out of money. Prosecutors valued the scheme at $248 million, and the victims were investors and lenders, not Kawhi Leonard, not Clippers fans, the people who put money into the company. In June of 2026, Sanberg was sentenced to 14 years. The judge said the circumstances were among the worst he had seen from the bench, and that the case had, quote, touched almost every badge of fraud. Prosecutors asked for nearly 18 years. The defense asked for no prison at all. 14 years is the number that matters, because that is the only person in this entire story who has been convicted of anything. Proceeding number 2 is the money, and this is the detail that flips the whole narrative. Aspiration went into bankruptcy in Delaware in March of 2025. Bankruptcy is what happens when a company cannot pay what it owes, so a court takes over and divides up whatever is left. Everybody the company owes gets listed. Those people are called creditors. In those filings, KL2 Aspire, Leonard's company, is listed as a creditor. The reported figure was $7 million still owed to him. Leonard's own comment on that number was, quote, "It was more than that for sure." Read that again. In the bankruptcy, he is not the one who took the money and ran. He is one of the people standing in line hoping to get paid. There is also a civil suit from 11 former Aspiration investors, filed in July of 2025. In November, they added Steve Ballmer as a defendant, alleging he participated in the fraud by funneling money to Leonard. Ballmer denies it. And notice who is not on that complaint. Kawhi Leonard is not named as a defendant. Proceeding number 3 is the one everybody actually cares about, and it is not a court at all. The NBA opened an investigation in September of 2025 into whether the Clippers circumvented the salary cap. The league brought in the law firm Wachtell Lipton to run it. Here is what people miss about a league investigation. It is not a criminal case, and it is not a lawsuit. The NBA is a private business, and its teams all signed up to a rule book. When the league investigates, it is enforcing a contract between businesses, not a statute. Nobody goes to prison. Nobody gets a criminal record. What is actually on the table is league discipline, fines, lost draft picks, voided contracts, and in the most extreme corner of the imagination, forcing an owner to sell. That is the real exposure here, not handcuffs, draft picks and money and the ability to build a team. And in July of 2026, the investigation got bigger, not smaller. It was reported to have expanded to a second endorsement deal involving Leonard that had never been public, and to whether the Clippers improperly covered expenses for him without being paid back. Meanwhile, there is a very expensive traffic jam. A trade that would send Kawhi Leonard from the Clippers back to the Toronto Raptors is on hold, and it cannot be completed until the league finishes. An entire franchise's roster plan is parked in a driveway waiting on a law firm to file a report. Commissioner Adam Silver said he wanted this wrapped up over the summer, but would not commit to a date. ESPN reports the investigation is ongoing, that there is more work to be done and no set timeline, and that it is enormously complex. So the scoreboard as of late July of 2026 looks like this. 1 conviction belonging to a co-founder for defrauding investors. 1 bankruptcy in which Leonard is a creditor. 1 investor lawsuit in which the team's owner is a defendant and Leonard is not. And 1 league investigation that is nearly a year old, has grown twice, and has produced no findings and no penalties against anyone. The most famous name in the story has the least legal exposure in it, and the trade of the offseason is sitting completely still, waiting on a verdict that technically is not even a verdict. Every case, every charge, every update, we don't miss. Caught in 4K.